Next for Superman month, I'm going to list some of my favorite Superman stories of the last 25 years. That's not to say that there aren't any great Superman stories before then, it's just that going with the last 25 years, I'm doing that because odds are most of the people who've watched like Smallville or Superman the Anime Series or Man of Steel were born during the 90s, and I've noticed that people tend not to read or watch things that's older than they are. So now let's begin with Superman Confidential Kryptonite, written by Darwin Cook, art by Tim Sale. The story focuses on Superman's first experience with kryptonite. It centers on his relationship with Lois Lane and his first bout of realizing his weaknesses, both physical and emotional. And there's also a narrating piece of kryptonite that plays a part in it too. Up next now is Superman Earth 1 is a ongoing graphic novel series written by JMS, pencils by Shane Davis and Adrian Saif, and inked by Sandra Hope. This story is an Elseworlds story take on the early days of Clark Kent before his time as a journalist at the Daily Planet. We get to see Clark's early Superman adventures, and we also see him come to terms with his heritage, his powers, and his purpose in life. The writer JMS based part of his idea of this story on his own experiences as a journalist. Next, Superman Up, and Away, written by Geoff Jonns and Kurt Busiek, art by Pete Woods and Renato Guedes. This was an 8-issue story that was part of DC's 1 Year Later initiative. Jumping ahead, 1 year later in Comics Time after the Infinite Crisis storyline, Clark's dealing with being powerless. He and Metropolis had to deal with Lex Luthor creating superheroes for reasons, and now there's a new type of material, Sunstone Crystal, that pops up, which plays part in Lex's overall plans. Next, Superman Brainiac, written by Geoff Johns, penciler by Gary Frank, inker John Sabille. This story focuses on the return of the Bowel Sea of Kandor. It's revealed that after all these years, Superman has never really actually faced the real Brainiac, until now. During the course of the story, Clark experiences his greatest triumph and tragedy. Next, Superman Peace on Earth, written by Paul Dini and Alex Ross, art by Alex Ross. This is a Christmas tale where Superman tries to help the United Nations to end world hunger. He tries to feed as many people as he can during one entire day. He runs into varying degrees of acceptance and opposition. Will his actions inspire the rest of the world? This is one of 6 giant-sized, fully painted Alex Ross books that focused on a hero and theme. There was Batman War and Crime, Captain Marvel Power of Hope, Wonder Woman Spear of Truth, JLA Secret Origins, and JLA Liberty and Justice. Next, Superman Secret Identity, written by Kurt Busiek, artist Stuart Immonen. This is an Elseworlds story that takes place in a world where superheroes don't exist. And then, unexpectedly, Clark Kent develops superpowers and has to deal with being the only superpowered being in a normal world. This is a 4-issue series and it covers the course of his entire life. Next, All-Star Superman, written by Grant Morrison, art by Frank Quitely. This is set up as the final Superman story. After Superman saves some scientists from the sun, something happens to his body. He's more powerful than before, but that same power is killing him. So with the time he has left, Clark goes about to complete his bucket list. During the series, his conflict with Lex Luthor is finally resolved. What's good about this story is it took aspects of Superman's history and reveled in it. It didn't matter how silly or ridiculous the concept was, the way Morrison used it made it more reader friendly because it was obvious that he really loves all the aspects of Superman's history, the serious, the fantasy, and the absurd. And now, Superman Birthright, written by Mark Waid, art by Lionel Francis Yu. Originally, this was an Elseworlds Superman origin story, but it would later replace the Man of Steel limited series as Superman's true origin story. The story retcons certain aspects of Superman's story, such as he's now able to see the aura of a human or animal when they die, Brainiac shrinking down and stealing the city of Kandor, and Lex Luthor's ties to Smallville, as well as other things. Next, Superman Red Sun, written by Mark Millar, pencils by Dave Johnson and Killian Plunkett, inking by Andrew Robinson and Walden Wong. What if the rocket that Clark was in fell into the Soviet Union instead of Kansas? Well, you find out here. We get to see alternate versions of well-known characters like Jimmy Olsen being a CIA agent or Lex Luthor being a Star Labs scientist. We also see other characters like Bruce Wayne, Diana Prince, and more have a different bent to them. Also, there's a twist ending as well. Next, Superman Escape from Bizarro World, written by Geoff Jonns and Richard Donner, art by Eric Powell and Dave Stewart. After being experimented on by Lex Luthor, Bizarro 3 escapes and while still discombobulated, encounters Superman, after which he flies into deep space and creates his own planet, which just happened to be by a blue sun. There were some changes on this planet though. One, it's shaped like a cube instead of a sphere like Earth. 2, the blue sun gave Bizarro the ability to create life forms, so he created Bizarro versions of Earth counterparts. Well, things go bad and Bizarro comes back to Earth for help from Superman, but instead kidnaps Jonathan Kent. This arc also has a Bizarro Justice League of America. Next, Superman Secret Origin, written by Geoff Johns, art by Gary Frank. This limited series replaced Superman Birthright as the final definitive canon origin of Superman until 2011. The idea of this series was, instead of pulling from various parts of Superman's history, the Golden, Silver, Bronze Ages, even the Richard Donner film, just focus on the modern aspects of Superman. It also focused more on Clark's relationships than on other aspects of Superman's history, even though they do explore it some. While many people like this series, some see it as a less ambitious retelling of Superman's origin than, say, the Man of Steel limited series or Birthright. Next, Superman and the Legion of Superheroes, written by Geoff Johns, penciled by Gary Frank, inked by Jonathan Sabel. Superman travels to the 31st century and has an adventure with the Legion of Superheroes. Something happened and the Legion are now outlaws, and once Superman arrives, he finds the Earth's under a red sun. So he's rendered powerless, but not having any powers isn't going to stop him from doing the right thing or help out his friends. Next, Superman for All Seasons, written by Jeff Loeb, art by Tim Sale. This is a story of a rookie Superman that occurs in the John Byrne Man of Steel continuity. It follows a year of Superman with the seasons as a theme. Per Jeff Loeb, he wanted to bring back the grandeur of Superman. There is a nostalgic feeling when reading this story. One reason is the almost painterly quality of Tim Sale's art. At times it has a Norman Rockwell quality to it. Another interesting aspect to it is that it's not narrated by Clark but by the people around him. Each season is narrated by a different person. Spring, Jonathan Kent. Summer, Lois Lane. Fall, Lex Luthor. Winter, Lionel Lang. Reading it reminded me of a topic of who's the real you? Are you how you view yourself or how other people view you? It's both actually. People are going to see different aspects about you and none of the perceptions will be incorrect. Next, Kingdom Come, written by Mark Waid, art by Alex Ross. This is also an Elseworlds story that takes place in about 20 years into the future. Most of our generation version of the Justice League retired after the rise of a new hero named Magog. His style of justice is more violent, but the public loves him. This also brings about the rise of new, younger, more violent heroes. After a catastrophic event happens, Superman has to come out of retirement and combat several threats. At times, Kingdom Come is very nihilistic, and Superman's way of thinking might seem dated to some, especially younger people. Heck, even Bruce says that. But in the end, the world is inspired by Superman's example. And finally, what's so funny about Truth, Justice, and the American Way? Well, I'm not going to talk about that here because I plan on doing a review for that next week. Well, these are only 15 stories, but there's more out there. If you can think of any more that's happened over the last 25 years, then please comment below. Also, if you like this video or if it made you more interested in Superman, then please comment below, subscribe, click like, and share this video. Also, be sure to check out the Superman Month playlist. And until my next video, goodbye.